So Greg Glassman, for those who have been stuck in a box for the past 4 years, was the guy who started CrossFit. But like one of the funniest things about starting
4 years, it was big when we were in college.
Business. No, this was back in 2020. He started going on this tirade of offensive tweets, we'll just call it, about a certain pandemic that was going on, and also some race-related things. But like, this is the great thing about.
Well, it's important to double up. Tweets aren't free.
This is one of the few instances that shareholders actually like took control of everything, right? Because like all of these CrossFit boxes were like, we're no longer a CrossFit box. We're just a fitness box that happens to do activities that those CrossFit people do. And then CrossFit was like, oh no, I guess we have to get rid of this racist guy, or racist for Greg. If you're watching this, that's my opinion. It is not me trying to defame you.
Hey, he wasn't racist. He said Merry Christmas to me.
Jeff is still angling for a job, huh?
Yeah.
And John just wants some pleasantries. The bar.
Hey, he was double crossed.
Oh my god! I mean, it is interesting, and for when we're recording this, right? Like, this was a interesting week as far as people striking back against CEOs. For the most
I don't know what
part.
you're talking about, Jeff. I didn't see anything happen.
Yeah, nothing happened.
I've seen a lot of D&D memes lately. That's
I saw a fancy guy with a gun who looked a little bit like our guest, Jean-Marco Ceresi.
No,
join.
We cannot fuel this rumor.
Yeah, Jean-Marco is just so good.
Jean-Marco, come back on the pod and defend yourself.
Yeah, please. I'll teach you how to put on a silencer.
No, he's in hiding.
Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to New York and the International Secret Intelligence Service. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that while the TV Pilot's License does not have human resources, we will listen to your problems with a dolphin hand puppet and then tell everyone we know. Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman. Rich, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I realized that's how I got you guys to post more on social medias with the dolphin hand puppet.
Well, Rich, it appears that Max is still on hiatus, but we do have someone hammering at the cockpit door, smelling of Malort, and insisting that it is indeed his turn to fly the plane. Our guest this week is an actor and model who you can see on Cowboy Dreams on December 19th on Vigloo. You can also see his face on shows such as The Oval and Will Trent, and whose ass you can see on Instagram. Please welcome John Machesky. John, how you doing, buddy?
I am screaming internally that you did not see John just finish a bottle of Malort on camera. You really missed that, Jeff?
I missed
that
whole
entirely.
thing.
No.
Future Jeff.
Oh, you're gonna love
this.
it.
It's okay. Hey. It was just a prop bottle, but that was real Malort. I wrote another.
Fully leaning into the bed.
Why'd you put real Malort in a prop bottle? Why'd you take it out of...
That's the thing.
Why'd you take it from its home?
The prop bottle's a real Malort bottle.
Well, it's made of sugar glass, so you can break it over your own head later.
Well, no, this is the plastic one. I put the glass one, which tastes better than the plastic one, just in case I dropped it.
Well, for the audience who is listening to us on wherever you can find podcasts, make sure to watch us also on YouTube because, I mean, who doesn't want to see a man fully embrace the greatest liqueur that you could ever drink? But yeah, this week, folks, we are talking a little bit about Archer. But before we do so, this is the TV Pilot's License. If you're here to see John's beautiful face or listen to his soothing voice, or maybe you're a frequent flyer, we are a TV podcast that focuses on some of the most famous and maybe the most infamous TV pilots that you have ever seen. Come and listen to us discuss them, learn how they got made, and maybe answer a few ridiculous questions and in-flight questions along the way. You can watch our smiling faces on YouTube. You can also listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. But with that being said, Rich, you normally come to something with the podcast with something a little bit extra. what do you have for us this week with Rich's question of the week?
Well, I think it's really important that we have John for this episode because we obviously wanted to ask him questions about acting in the chosen animated show. But I want to know, what if you had to pick another action movie franchise. I'm thinking anything really, anything that at least has a sequel to it. What are you giving the Archer treatment? What do you like? Obviously, this is very clearly like a James Bond type situation of like what happens when he's at MI5 and whatever. Is it MI5 or MI6? I don't remember. What are you giving the cartoonification, the satirization to?
John, as our guest, I'm going to let you go first.
All right, so I thought about this for a brief 1 minute before I was like, yep, I know exactly what it is. So you said I'm glad that you said sequels because this one has all of the sequels, and I think the only place left for this place to go, since it's already been to the moon and back.
Oh, Fast and Furious!
Oh my God! Yes.
I want to see the Archer version of this. We've already gone cartoonish. We're already flying cars.
Shit.
I want them now to have all the budget that an animation crudely drawn has, and I just want somebody to say family after every one.
I mean, John, just give us a pitch. What's that first episode looking like to you in this cartoon world of Fast and the Furious?
So I think it's exactly like a doomsday movie where you see a meteorite coming into the earth, and I think it's a car, and it lands perfectly, and he walks out. Vin Diesel walks out, and he just says, "For family," and then it rolls credits, and we're starting right into it.
I love that you're saying it's Vin Diesel. It's not even Dom Toretto. It's just it's Vin Diesel is fully like Diesel. I am Dom now, and I am Dom in the animated Fast and the Furious.
Either he says that, or he says I am Groot, or he is the robot. I don't care. He can do all of it. It's the best voice acting he's ever done.
I'm just imagining that. Who of the original cast are we actually getting to do their voices? I would love if it was just Vin Diesel and no one else. Like, we're fully
you're gonna
like
deny us Ludacris?
But I say Ludacris has to come in and he has to say Luda at least once because Ludacris is in that world as well. He's not Ludacris, but there is a Ludacris in that world.
I was actually thinking a similar answer to John's, and I really want it to have like. Do you guys remember that really short-lived show on Adult Swim, Mike Tyson Murder Mysteries?
Yeah, which was a fantastic show.
Oh, dude, you are going to love it. Please watch Mike Tyson Murder Mysteries.
Imagine if Scooby-Doo just had Mike Tyson rather than Scooby-Doo.
Right.
And that's the show. And it's wonderful.
And Norm Macdonald plays a talking pigeon. And, oh God, who else?
As he would.
Is John Oliver in it? There's one British character. I can't remember who it is. But
they're all the same person. Don't you know? Well, Rich, you were talking a little bit about what you were thinking for this question. What is that choice that you have?
I have to go, and this is going to sound a little strange off the top, but it's just The Rock. I want.
Nope.
The Rock is
fully funded. The Rock. Done.
Franchise Viagra himself.
It's all of his movies, and I want a satirization of someone who's just because I think the biggest trick that Hollywood plays is that that action stars are tough guys. They're just actors who lift a lot. It's like
Wait, what? I don't have to be a tough guy anymore?
No. You can stop beating people up.
John's been bullying kids in the lots of 7-Eleven, asking them for money so he can buy
Hey, I have to level up. I have to start with the 7-year-old so I can get to the 12-year-old.
You're right. Just like
those high schoolers are mean.
Just like
they keep making fun of my ankle socks.
Look, I don't care what fashion trend stays in place. What the evolution of fashion is going to be. I am not losing these fucking ankle socks. My shins will remain bare for the rest of my life.
You could peel them off my skinny tight jean body.
Oh my God. Well, I love these two answers. I have something a little bit different that I'm going to go with. I was thinking about the movies that we grew up going to the movie theaters with, right? These action-packed, ridiculous concept. There's a comedian on one side. There's someone who's good at action themselves on the other side who might not be as good of an actor, but
you're going to pitch the Kevin Hart side by side The Rock series.
I was like, it's Kevin Hart with Kevin Hart.
But one's big.
You're not that... You're not that far off. I am actually going to do Rush Hour, the cartoon series,
yes, dude.
Because
I want that so bad.
Shit, wouldn't it be
Bring
so
Jackie
much?
Chan back.
Yes.
Like, I don't think Chris Tucker's that busy. And I think that Jackie Chan would absolutely dominate in this. And like, if this already exists, please point me to it, because I think this would be so fun to do little mini, like 20-minute episodes. You have that combat scene. You have
Absolutely.
Chris Tucker telling jokes that are for the kids, but really for the adults. And like, I think that would destroy, especially with millennials. You put that on Cartoon Network today. Like, I'm watching that only. Like, that's the only thing I watch. Forget other TV. Forget this podcast.
The crazy thing is Jackie Chan did his own stunts for that too, and it was animated. I don't understand how it happened.
He drew his own stunts.
He's just like, wait a minute, I'm still drawing. Like,
I can't believe that Chris Tucker's character, number one, at an 11 the entire series, like does not chill out the entire time. Is basically like, I am an LAPD officer and it's my first day on the job every day.
Like, yeah.
Hey, I've been saying that for 12 years and it keeps working.
We just want to give John his big break on every role.
It's always the young cop.
Oh, God. Well, Rich, thank you for that question of the week. Let's talk a little bit more about Archer. And we're going to quickly start off with a quick synopsis. And that is, Archer is about the lives of the employees at an international spy agency and their misadventures, which... Sure.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's pretty accurate, but let's talk a little bit about how this got made. And it's funny you brought up Cartoon Network, because we're definitely going to be talking about it today. Today we are talking about Archer episode 1, known as Mole Hunt, aka Pilot. And we will be talking about the show's creator, Adam Reed. A graduate from UNC Chapel Hill, Reed interned at Turner Broadcasting, where his first job was actually reviewing episodes for the Flintstones, which were going to be distributed to VHS as part of a Little Debbie promotion, which is insane.
Wait, did he start at Turner Broadcasting in 1943? What kind of job is this?
He started in the mid-90s. So eventually... Reed met his creative partner, a man by the name of Matt Thompson, and they actually started working together on Cartoon Network, where they created High Noon Tunes together. This was about in like 1995. Because of the work that they were doing, they started coming up with the idea for their first show, which premiered in 2001, called C-Lab 2021.
Oh, I know that one.
Because they were working together, and this is crazy. Anyone could get a TV show back in the 90s, including Carrot Top's AM Mayhem, which was like, they helped produce live segments for that and do the
stand-up comedy boom America has never recovered from that.
So
hey, he taught me so much. That's why I have so many props today.
So
you drank your props, John. You drank them all.
Yeah, you drank. Props is what we call our daddy juice.
You don't understand. You don't see what's behind the camera. There's just a bar behind me.
Oh my God. Well, the two of them, after working on Carrot Top's AM Mayhem and some other projects on Cartoon Network, they were coming up with this idea for C-Lab 2021. They actually had some test footage. They ended up stealing. At that point, it was called C-Lab 2020. And then they were shopping it around at all of these different networks. They ended up both getting picked up by Showtime. But their boss got in a accident. And then what ended up happening is there's this theme of Europe with Adam Reed. If he is busy or if he gets dropped from a project, he's like, I'm going to Europe for a little while. He was literally on the way from New York to the airport to go to Europe. And then he got a call that their pilot concept for C-Lab 2021 got picked up by Cartoon Network. And so he had to cancel his trip at the airport to start working on animation and stuff.
Sorry, he couldn't go to wherever in Europe he was going to.
I hate that when I'm about to, just go to bunk off to Europe and then I get a job.
and then my creative vision
Too
gets
bad
a
I'm
lot
going
of
off
money.
to Europe next week.
So with their show being picked up, Reed and Thompson ended up creating 70-30 production. And then after C-Lab had success, they created some other shows, but they were eventually approached about creating something new. So how Archer got ideated was another show got canceled for Reed, so he ended up going to Spain. And this is where the idea for Archer came up. He specifically has this great quote, and it says, "So I sat on the Plaza Mayor for 3 days, drinking either coffee or beer or gin, depending on the time of day, surrounded by these Spanish women who seemed both unaware and completely aware of their beauty. Occasionally they would glance over and catch me gaping at them, and just smile at me like, I know, right? And for 3 days, I couldn't even sputter Buenos Dias to any of them, not once. And thus, Sterling Archer was born."
Wait.
He would have absolute...
And I thought, what if I wasn't incompetent to talk to people?
Oh man, I really like this show. I don't want to hate this guy, but this is like the worst quote I've ever heard.
Hey, it sounds like he had to kill 2 people to be able to get this show.
Well, let me finish the fucking quote.
And then go to Europe.
Oh, it's not over.
Yeah, it's not. He said, and thus Sterling Archer was born. He would have absolutely sauntered over to a table full of these women and sat down and ordered an entire case of cava or whatever. So
this is like a therapy character that he invented.
I think this is when,
it's like, what if I wasn't myself?
People go on vacation and are like, what if I, or like when people go to college and they're like, forget high school Jeff, I'm college Jeff now, or I'm just G, I won't even go by my name.
I mean, I guess that's why most people become comedians, because they have a harder time like talking to the opposite sex. But like I've never heard of a TV show born from that.
So, final little fact, and then we can talk a little bit more about this show. So, originally, this show was not pitched under the name Archer. It was pitched under the name Duchess, because they loved the code name of it. But yeah, that is how this show got made. Let's talk a little bit more about this pilot itself. And
one of my favorite cold opens already.
Yeah, Rich, why don't you tell us a little bit about this cold open?
Yeah, absolutely. So we meet Sterling Archer and also a yet to be named, basically Soviet KGB agent who is torturing him while they go back and forth with the regular James Bondy, like, you will never understand my plan. I am going to destroy and take over the planet, and the USA will fail under my watch. All that good stuff. And basically, it gets revealed as he's about to get a golf cart battery volt to the nuts. Go-kart.
Yeah.
It gets revealed that this is a simulation exercise that somehow takes place behind Mrs. Archer's office. Like in her office at all times, there is a two-way mirror, or there is a one-way mirror that goes into the simulation. And yeah, we get to see how much of a brash asshole Archer is, like, from the beginning.
I think it's classic misdirection. You think it's going to be one thing.
Yeah.
I really love that they started it off that way.
Two things that I do love is we automatically get an understanding of, like, this is more of an office workplace comedy than it is, like, at least in this episode, a spy thriller show that we're going to be focusing on. But my second thing is, and I'm curious, would you guys rather have A, this wonderful torture chamber that we've been presented with, or B, the
careful what you're asking,
like,
here, Jeff.
in the 80s or 90s, executives would have, like, showers or, like, a workout space in their, like, gigantic office place. I don't know. That torture chamber looks pretty roomy and looks like a good place.
It sounds pretty much like it's going to fit at home at Fox. They might have it there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think one of the funnest parts about how they design, and I completely forgot that the agency was named ISIS. That really threw me immediately.
They did go back in later seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're gonna change this.
Right.
Things happened.
No idea what this was. Like, we were never attached to that name sort of mindset.
Yeah, there's just like it's just like an amalgamous blob of like what the layout of ISIS actually is. That there's like potentially like a simulation chamber for torture scenes behind Mallory's office, and then it's just, they could just invent new rooms in that in that office as long as they want.
John, I'm curious, how did you like we talk a lot about exposition on this podcast. Like, how do we get everyone in depth into the world so they understand the expertise or the lack thereof expertise of some of our characters? What did you think of this, like, torture scene sort of being like, oh, Archer Sterling, aka Duchess, and like trying to establish the credibility of this character just for it to then be taken away nearly in like a moment's notice?
Like I said, it's classic misdirection, which they quote multiple times throughout the first episode. And that's what they do the whole show. They set up, it's like, okay, this is not what you think it's going to be the whole time. And then the laughs per minute are there right off the get-go, where they're overlapping each other. They're bringing in new concepts. They're bringing back, with the rule of three, everything that you might have heard throughout the whole show. And then I think it's great how they're able to have the most competent and the least competent, the idiot savant, basically, that he's able to know somehow everything and nothing at all, but he's able to bumble his way through Mr. Magoo style through everything.
Rich, I saw this. So we go through this cold open. We're going to talk about some of the sight gags that they use in this pilot. Because this is not a laundry folding show. This is a show that you have to watch, and you have to pay attention to all the small details.
It's a dense script.
You have to be Googling while you're listening to figure out what's going on.
Like, literally, I did not think in my notes I'd have Yoko Ono and John Lennon, excuse me, involved. Yeah, John Legend's in this. It gets weird. But Rich,
the Yoko Ono photo with the dog.
Yeah, with Duchess the dog. I'm curious, Rich, we have this the animation in the show is top notch. We'll talk a little bit more about what inspired it later, but I'm curious, from the intro sequence that we got, what were you thinking when you saw this like wild, very busy, but somehow perfectly fits this unnamed year that we were in of this show?
Right. I actually like that they kept that kind of ambiguous too, because like John's pouring something audibly.
Actually, every episode of the show has glass clinking, so I don't want to hear it.
You're right.
Or actually, I'm going to hear it, so it doesn't matter.
I think like the fact that they make Archer kind of, you actually kind of have like an ambiguous understanding of how good he is at his job too, because it's like there is a nepotism aspect, and everyone's like clearly mad at about that in the office. But like, if he's a good spy, he's a good spy, and it's still like very much up to interpretation whether or not he is actually a good spy, because you see him fuck up in every single episode, even though he is supposedly the number one most dangerous spy on the planet.
Yeah, even to himself.
Yeah. What did we think of this, like, getting to learn more about Archer's incompetence through this intro to his home? We meet Woodhouse. We meet this flight attendant who is definitely a TV pilot's license employee, who he's probably slept with the ping pong paddle mark on her ass, talking about detail. It introduces this tool that this show uses and leans heavily on, which is the idea of flashbacks, which I'm curious, because like we're right now in the midst of this meme of these videos being of like of the Family Guy memes, where it's just like a clip from Family Guy and then you show the person they're actually talking about from current day. I'm curious what you guys think of seeing flashbacks being used in this essence. And this is our first intro, but there's a ton of them throughout the entirety of this pilot.
That's one of the beautiful things about animation, is that you can show and not tell anything you want. You can make any character do absolutely anything you want, no matter how much exposition you have to set up, no matter what the shot is going to be. Like you can set up every single moment of that character's life with nothing more than like the digital drawing tools that they use. And I think they do such a great job of both this and the repetition style in the show. And I feel like a lot of shows have actually started to like once this came out, started copying that way of like talking and throwing jokes back and forth.
John, what about you?
I know you said that the animation is really top notch. I could actually, from having watched the whole like show, that seeing just from the pilot, like how much more budget they got just in animation. It was like janky walking and everything, but it was like, oh, I never even paid attention to that before because the jokes are so fast and you're on your feet the whole time. Like, I'm just like, wait, I know that's funny. And they even make a joke about it later on where they make a joke that's nonsensical, but you're going to laugh at it because you're just like, oh, that's where I should laugh. They're saying something very funny, and like it should be in my lexicon, which nobody has this kind of lexicon. Like you have to think and plot out everything. So I think it's really a smart man's attempt at dumb humor and everything, because like everything is so deep and so specific,
right?
But it's played for fart jokes and crudeness.
And then they have to like all the references that they drop. Because this is an ambiguous year of like, they wanted to, okay, so there's like a masturbation joke about Mallory, and they're like, Johnny Bench calling, and Johnny Bench was the former like Cincinnati Reds catcher. Yes. And, I'm like, but that was like in the 70s and 80s. So like, this is clearly in the 80s at some point. You can't make a modern reference for anything. I can't tell if that's like a freeing part of the script.
It is like they do a Johnny Bench thing and then they do a Brian song or like they joke later, and you're just,
which I think is from the 70s.
There was something where I was reading through and I was like, they were very intentional about not giving a year to this because they wanted to be able to play around with the idea of like super modern technology in like a later date. And then in some instances references where they could just be like, oh yeah, like, this is happening right now, and people would be like, wait, what the fuck is happening?
It's mid-Cold War, we don't know what time.
Well, and then I also read something about it that when you have like the flashbacks, they don't have the same technology that they would have like if it was in like the Cold War or in like World War I for like Woodhouse when they do flashbacks.
Right.
So it's definitely just like mythical time. Like, things are happening and it's all hand waved, like just like all the jokes are just like, yeah, we're moving on.
Oh, that's right. Wait, okay. So for Woodhouse's character, they're like, Archer has this, for those who haven't seen the show yet while listening in, Archer has a personal butler named Woodhouse, and Woodhouse is a very, very elderly British man who is like, it seems like he's like very much in over his head with, like trying to manage this job. But he was like a World War I veteran. Like he flew like, he flew like a Sopwith camel. Like it was like, it's one of those like, it was one of those planes where the wings are made out of like canvas or something like that.
So we get back to the office, and this is really our first introduction talking about a workplace comedy of the crew that we will be doing our missions or misadventures with. There's a lot of very memorable characters in this crew. Cheryl, we have Pam, we have Dr. Krieger, we have like...
you get to meet everyone like, pretty quickly.
We meet everyone.
Well, Krieger you didn't even get to hear, and then Ray's not introduced till later.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The addition of Ray is such a smart idea.
Or Carol, or Charlene, or...
Yeah, there's just like... and then we have this instance where we meet... whom presumably I would say is probably number 2 on the call sheet of Lana Kane. And it's just, this show immediately is like, hey, we're going to be crude. We're going to be like in your face. We're going to tell some jokes that you're like, holy shit, I can't believe they just said that. But at the same time, like, it's punchy and it is very inviting is sort of what I put down.
Not only that, like, shout out to Jessica Walters for like even wanting to do this character. Like, she's perfect. And
well, there's a bunch of people from Arrested Development that
I remember David Cross is in it at some point. It's probably Will Arnett. He's a great voice actor. They probably threw him in there. But I mean, she just absolutely nails this. And at this stage of her career, she had no reason to say yes to this. But instead she's gonna like they're gonna have her like mimicking phone sex in her first episode on this. I'm like, do you think she found rest in peace, obviously, but like, do you think she found like like fun in this, or do you think it was just
yeah,
all right?
You don't do there's no way you leave Arrested Development, right? And are like, you know what? I'm too good for jokes that make you squirm a little bit. You're like, you know what? This is really fun. And like, let me just take the filter off and have a lot of fun doing
God bless
this.
her. Let's all be more like Jessica Walters.
How much could they have paid her? $5?
Yeah. Oh my God.
We got to unionize.
True.
So like, one of the interesting things about this being animation is the plot for this episode is very loose, is how I would define it. Like, this is not like...
There's no mission.
There isn't a mission. Our mission is something that is made up because of Archer's incompetence, which is he's got...
So the mission is the expense account.
Yeah, his expense account. And then we have
it's white-collar crime.
It's white-collar crime. And then he also makes the...
It's embezzlement in HR.
Yeah.
He also then says there's a mole, like just as an offhand comment, as like this is the other plot of the episode.
Right.
Classic misdirection.
Was there any of these, like meeting the crew, people who could possibly help him, that you like were like, oh, stand out, I really want to get to know this character more, based off of our first interactions with them?
Oh boy. I mean, you get you obviously want a ton more with Pam, because being an HR person at a spy agency where all the spies talk like pirates basically is completely insane.
And she's just gonna spill the beans anyway.
Right. you can tell too that there's a dark side to Cyril, and oh god, I want them to get into Krieger so badly, and like you could tell it wasn't like formulated as a character yet, but he's Q, but with like
the predator.
Yeah, with like an endless list of fetishes. It's like, it is truly, he might be one of the craziest characters on TV, period.
They're so specific with absolutely every one of the characters that I'm just like, they all have a backstory,
right?
And then they all have like their very specific proclivities.
Yeah,
we'll say, and they are pretty spelled out pretty quick.
Yeah, they're all fucking, and then they're all killing people. So
yeah, and this isn't even to mention Cheryl Tunt's character, who is just like bonkers concept for a character. Right. Real, like Judy Greer destroys.
Oh my god,
as Cheryl Tunt, and like
I'm a gigantic Judy
people. Yeah, I'm a gigantic Judy Greer fan, but like in this role, I'm just like, my dear God, like you are dominating like the little screen time, because you don't see her face, but like I just love that so much. So I have a question for you too, and I think that it's an interesting idea, and like the concept of the pilot, we're trying to be introduced to a world, see if the world is more interesting. And one of the things that I have is, I think this entire pilot is just about how terrible Archer Sterling is as a human being, and
everyone flips him off.
And trying to understand why everyone despises him, yet has to work with him. How appealing do you guys find that as the premise for a pilot of a TV show that maybe you're seeing it for the first time?
He's like an American Psycho character almost, of just like, yeah. Were you thinking the same thing, Jeff? I saw that face.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I was.
Yeah, he's like a finance bro who's also like a nepo baby, but as a spy. It's very confusing. Like it's like he's kind of trying to appease this group of bros that's invisible around him at all times. He's just like womanizing and like getting absolutely shit canned, abusing his butler, both verbally and at sometimes physically. And yeah.
So I would definitely agree with that, and I think that what it's doing is just taking what James Bond was and being like, oh no, this is what it actually was, and we just didn't look at it that way. We're just like, oh, he's so cool, and like, look at all the women he's getting, all the drinks he's having.
Right.
And then this is like the actual real world equivalent of it. It's like, no, this is what a real James Bond would be like. And this is what we've all been like, this is what I want to be.
Where everyone in MI6 is just like, fuck this guy. Like, this guy.
Well, they're even in James Bond, they're like that. Like, he keeps breaking all this stuff.
Right.
His expense account's got to be insane. He's always drinking. He's always loose ends with sleeping with women.
But it's played for comedy in James Bond movies, and now this actually looks at like how much of a menace would that human being be to actually work with. This show does take a turn, like about 2/3 of the way through, when it finally decides we're gonna become a show about a secret spy, right? Like we're going to break into this agency to be able to rectify the budget issue. When this show leans into the spy stuff, how much is that appealing to you, or does it take away from the idea of like, I just want more quick-witted jokes, or maybe hope that this leans into more tomfoolery?
It makes me wonder if they had, like, when they did the original pilot, they were just like, no, we're going to make it an office comedy about a spy place, and then or a spy agency, and then at some point they got a note saying like, no, he needs to do some spy stuff the first episode. Because they do, like, it is very much your expense account doesn't match the amount that we have budgeted for you, and like you're getting charges from places you've never been and stuff like that. And then so that's how you get like the introduction to like Pam and Cyril and stuff like that, who are basically just running the nuts and bolts of it. But then you get in like to the actual, oh my god, there is actually a mole. I've just been telling people that there's a mole to get people off my back. Like, oh yeah, there is actually a KGB agent inside.
John, what about you? Like, when this show went spy?
So I think that knowing how expensive it is to do animation and seeing how janky some of the first pilot animation is, I think they blew all of it just in him trying to infiltrate. And it's not even played as like, oh, this is what he's doing. It's ended up playing as like, oh, this is what I'm talking about having to do.
Yeah.
So it's all of that sweeping like motion and like drawn really well.
Right.
It was all in that one scene that he spent all the time there. So I think it was just really a budget constraint. And then for me, I really enjoyed it. I'm like, oh, this is like the fulfillment. Like, because even though we're just like, oh, this guy's like really bad, it's like, no, I still want that wish fulfillment. Even though he's the anti-hero, I still want to watch him do cool things and like wisecrack because I'm still having fun. And hey, it's animation, so I'm not worried about it being real people. So I'm totally bought in. And then it's like, yes, but even in playing out like the spy fantasy, it's all played for jokes. Like, even when he pulls out the gun and does the classic James Bond point with the PP7, he ends up bouncing off all the bullets and then hits the hero.
And hits someone behind him. Like, that is like that is a true beauty of this being an animated show, that you could just like, people could just get shot. It's fine.
Yeah, no worries. Like, gunplay is
nothing.
I do love that this show has its overarching theme of like spy, all that, but at its heart, it's always like, we're doing it for laughs first, and like laughs always. We're never going to, like, for example, when Mallory was a hostage in that moment for the mole, I never was like, oh no.
Oh my god.
I was just like
the hostage part, like having his mom be held at gunpoint, giving him an erection is so fucking funny. And like, I don't think there's like a better illustration of mommy issues than in those first in that like 1 3-second clip.
This entire episode should have been called Mommy Mole Issues, and it should have been.
But then that just proves my point about, he can literally get an erection and it saves his mom. Like, he will bumble his way through because he's such a good spy.
That's true.
He always planned on getting that erection.
I mean,
that's all part of his plan.
He knew.
I mean, that really is sort of this pilot.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, were there any things that you loved about this episode that maybe we didn't focus on too much that you want to give some shine?
Okay, so there's one line. I mean, there's so many jokes that are like, I could see imprinting on other shows that came after this. There's the password guest part of him breaking into the ISIS mainframe, and then also so you can't just jet off to Whore Island. That's not a real place. It's like one of those shows that I can it's kind of like Letterkenny, where it's like you can see the patter of it being a huge part of how they write the show. It's I'm trying to think of another one. Arrested Development is actually the same way. The way they talk to each other is a huge part of like what makes it funny. But also like it's kind of how I feel about, John Mulaney isn't just like a funny comedian. He changes the way we all tell jokes and talk to each other. Like that is like a truly like influential part of like what makes the show special, what makes him special. And yeah, I mean, it just like the joke timing for this show is very unique and very like, it definitely had a lot of influence on how people talked.
John, I'm curious about yourself. Was there anything that you wanted to give a little bit more love?
So I definitely wore my slightly darker turtleneck for this pod today. So I just wanted to be able to point that out. That was one of my other props that has been here the whole time in plain sight. But I really think that Rich is right, that it is something that it is really influential. And where I work as a server, since I'm an actor, we have a bunch of 70s and 80s movies like all on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And Archer is one of them that is on there as a really recent introduction. But it is something that it talks about everything that happened in the 70s, 80s, 60s. Like you have to be able to get all of the jokes, you would have to have such a massive lexicon of geopolitical events. Who was the prime minister in India in like 1980? Like to be able to get some of the jokes. I'm sitting there like Googling, like, wait, what was that joke the whole time?
I know. I think at some point in a future episode they make several jokes about the inventor of like blimps or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. There's an entire blimp episode. Like,
yeah.
There's definitely, I have a feeling that Reed, when he was creating this show, was just like definitely a guy who gets stuck on something where he's just like, oh, I want to just talk about this all the time. And he's like, what if I made an episode of Archer so everyone has to go on the journey of learning about this thing?
Yeah, Archer is kind of like a debonair womanizing spy who also like has a like fact of the day or like hyper obsesses about things. Like it's so weird.
I
don't know if they made an episode of this. I wish they did if they did not. But like an episode where Archer's just on Jeopardy would be the funny. And it's just like Archer's on Jeopardy and he's trying to win, but he has to lose, almost like in a miscongeniality type vein, would be amazing. As far as things that I loved, John, you talked about it a little bit earlier, but the rule of threes in this pilot is amazing.
Yeah.
It is so well done of just like, okay, 1, 2, let's sneak in 3 just for like an eagle-eyed viewer. I talked a little bit about the ping pong paddle. Like, I think that's fantastic. The ants joke in here is crazy.
Yep.
The donuts joke.
Can't or won't.
Yeah, either.
the concept of Pam is just one of the funniest fucking things in this entire pilot. And like, I implore people that if we hypothetically recommend this show, that you just see what happens with like the character of Ray and Pam together, because that is just in itself one of the greatest parts of this show and one of the greatest gags of this show. I do have another question for you guys, and that is wait a minute moments. We're with a show that is so offensive sometimes and in certain moments, but so particularly placed. Were there any things that caused you pause that maybe you wanted to shine a little bit of a light?
Oh God, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, all of it was above board. I don't know what you're talking about. We open up immediately onto him with the ping pong paddle, like right next to her, and the aspirin. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what the show's gonna be the whole time. Got it.
I think they could have done without the insult to the guy who runs the laundry that ISIS is hidden inside.
Yeah, saying that he smells like curry.
Yeah, that was insane.
I
mean, you want people to hate Archer too. That's like part of it. It's like, oh, this guy's like an absolute prick. Like, but man,
I say he's a misogynist the whole time,
right?
And a sexist. But then when he's like being racist, we're like, wait a minute.
Right? Yeah. No, I mean, because everything else is so comical. Like the misogyny is like so comical in that show. It's just like it feels like a little above believability, which I think like creates like the actual funny elements to it. yeah, I don't know. The Indian jokes were a little weird.
Yeah, I think we talked about how this entire pilot is sort of trying to establish how terrible Archer is, and there's that very fine line where it's just like, how bad do we make him without like the audience completely giving up on him? And that might have been the one overstep in this entire pilot, where like he could have just been a bad laundromat owner, and that would have been perfectly valid and fine. But yeah, I mean,
he was bad. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw
of the
that.
burn on his shirt?
It just had a burn on his shirt, which was so fucking funny. We do have one more question. This is an in-flight question. Our in-flight question this week comes to us from Instagram, from an account with the owner of name of Laura. What would your spy code name be, and why? Is the in-flight question. Well, Laura, thank you so much for that question. I'm curious, gentlemen, what would your spy code name be? Archer was named after his mom's dog. What would you be named after?
I feel like John would be codename Malort. I feel like that's a good code name.
But no, they know exactly who I was.
Yeah,
exactly. That's true.
That's it. That's the problem. You would just try to track who buys the most Malort, and then John would win.
Why is there a big sale in Atlanta?
This guy is importing Malort to Atlanta.
Yeah, John, you are a like sales data point at the Malort company. You're
skewing the data. They're just like
you're what they call a power user.
I'm the whale that they've been looking for this whole time.
Oh, my God.
He's our guy. Hey, and also, Malort, if you're listening, please sponsor my wedding.
Sponsor the wedding and the podcast. I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
I remember
exactly.
they did at some point a like a catchphrase or slogan contest.
Jepson's Malort. I'll have another.
there is that, and there. I think the winning one was "These pants won't shit themselves." I think personally, my pets already have some pretty solid names for code names. So Napoleon or Beelzebub are pretty solid.
Beelzebub is wild.
Yeah.
That would be such a good one.
That's you want your code name to inspire some fear. Duchess does not, unfortunately, inspire any fear.
See, and I went the opposite way. I was thinking, so it's just like my stripper name, so it's going to be Bluebird Machesky.
Bluebird.
Oh my God! Why is it Bluebird?
Because it's the street you grew up on.
Oh God! Oh.
Wow. Okay.
And then for some reason I got called Machesky. Also, my first modeling headshot, they did a misprint. They spelled my name wrong.
No.
It ended up saying Machesky instead of Machesky.
No way.
And I wanted it so bad, but they had already thrown it away.
I didn't know that.
Imagine me out at the bar just being like, "Hey, I'm Machesky." It would have went great.
It's like the real life version of McDreamy.
Yeah.
And then I chug a shot of Malort and it just goes sideways.
I mean, I was thinking of this from the idea of like what would just be the worst name, and like Duchess is pretty bad, but Cutie Pie would be so fucking funny.
That's so funny.
That would just be like Agent Cutie Pie, like, and it's just like, wait, no, you guys, come on, like, I'm tough, and it's just like you're just a little cutie pie, and like you're a little cutie pie going off and trying to, like, kill a foreign mercenary, like.
You're just
thwarted again by honey bunches of votes.
You're just characters from Wreck-It Ralph.
Lucky Charms, I'm calling it. That's my. Well, thank you so much for that in-flight question. Let's talk a little bit about the history of this show. 14 seasons and 145 episodes. The show did start on FX and then went to FXX when that started in 2017. As far as critical reception, it's on a few different lists of best animation TV shows of all time.
I believe that.
Including Entertainment Weekly, AV Club, TV Guide. There are DVDs, there are Blu-rays for every season. There's a video game. There are books. There was a tour of live readings of scripts of the show, a country music album, a crossover episode with Bob's Burgers, which I highly recommend. And then there's two other things. They
major props to Jon Benjamin. Best voice in TV.
Well, and then a bunch of people from Bob's Burgers actually end up playing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Later on too.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Two other fun promotions they did. They did a skit on Conan's show on TNT, or on TBS, which is hysterical. And then in 2016, Lana, Cheryl, and Pam all posed for Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition to promote the new season of the show, which is hysterical.
Crazy.
Just low key. Lana plays it straight, and then you guys can look out for Pam and Cheryl's, because Jesus Christ. The show also famously did a lot of hidden clues within the show, QR codes, barcodes that you could scan, and one of them led to a gigantic scavenger hunt around the United States, which then led to some award nominations and considerations, and we're going to talk about those right now. Let's talk about awards. 39 nominations. Now, these are just for entertainment-based awards. They also won a Clio Award, which is a marketing award, like for advertising. They won one for interactive campaign. But for the 39 nominations, they had 10 wins, including 4 Primetime Emmys. Most of those are technical Emmys, but they are still part of the Primetime. They count just as much. And they also won a few Critics' Choice Awards for Best Animated Series. But, Rich, to everyone's surprise, 0 surfboards. No surfboard awards anywhere to be found. But that is the history of this show. And, Rich, it is now time for your Game of the Week.
Dun, da, da, da. And I like this, very much like this show, am going to focus on moles for this trivia element. So first we go on to Mole the animal. The mole, the small subterranean mammal, who are naturally polydactyl, meaning they have an extra thumb to help with digging and eating. Which of these dog breeds commonly are polydactyl? So not a anomaly, not like a genetic like defect or anything like that. So in this case, meaning a dog with 5 digits. Is it A, the Australian Shepherd, B, the Great Pyrenees, C, the Bichon Frise, or D, the Irish Wolfhound?
I believe it's the Australian Shepherd.
What do you think, John?
I'm gonna go B.
It is B, the Great Pyrenees. Great Pyrenees are naturally... There's one other breed, too, but I've never heard of it before, and I won't even try to pronounce it. All right, second one. We're talking about mole. In the Oaxacan... In the Oaxacan and Pueblan dish mole, dozens of ingredients, including peppers, fruit, sugars, nuts, bread, and many others, are used to make the culturally important sauce. Mole poblano, arguably the most common iteration of mole, is most traditionally served with what meat? A, rabbit, B, lamb, C, turkey, D, pheasant.
Can you repeat those really quickly?
Yeah. A, rabbit.
That's not chicken at all. Which one of those is chicken?
A, rabbit, B, lamb, C, turkey, D, pheasant.
I'm going to have to go rabbit on this one.
Rabbit sounds pretty good to me, so I like that. Let's do rabbit.
I like the teamwork, but you're both wrong. It's C, turkey.
Okay.
It is traditionally served with turkey. All right, now the last mole question. Cindy Crawford, the super bottle with the trademark mole above her lip, recently went on a genealogy tracking... recently, about a decade ago, went on a genealogy tracking show called Who Do You Think You Are? On this show, Crawford found out she is a direct descendant of what former European ruler? A, Louis XIV, B, Charlemagne, C, King Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain, D, Augustus Caesar.
I'm just thinking of Charlemagne de God. I'm going to say Charlemagne. I'm going to say Charlemagne.
Wait, is it Charlemagne the God? Is that who she's a direct descendant?
Yeah, she's direct descendant of someone younger than her.
Yeah, she's directly a descendant of Charlemagne. So yeah, I'm going to go with Charlemagne because I'm an idiot.
What do you think, John?
I'm gonna go C.
It is Geoff. Your instincts proved correct. It is B,
idiot
Charlemagne.
Idiot savant over here.
She found out that she is a direct descendant of Charlemagne, king of the Franks, I believe. And yeah, thanks for playing Mole Trivia.
Oh my God. Well, Rich, thank you so much for your game of the week. Our flight is coming to a land, gentlemen, but I have 2 questions for the two of you. The first question is based off of the pilot. Would you continue watching Archer? I mean, and then the second question, very simply, is the show ended in 2023. We're about a year out from its finale anniversary. But do you think that there is a space for something like this, an animated TV show? We all had great pitches for shows that we would love to see in an animated spectrum. Would you like to see more animation with a crude sense behind it? Or maybe do you think, hey, animation is too expensive and networks don't need to invest into it? John, as our guest.
Yeah, more Doom.
It's the cheapest shit there is.
But it gives me a hangover, right?
Oh my God. John, what are you thinking for
this? You can't OD on it.
I definitely think there is infinite space for this, and that's why we have so many shows that do this with American Dad, with the Cleveland show, that you can have even with this pilot, like animation that's not up to snuff, but if you can have a good recording and you have some really clever writers, I think it just proves that story is king and all of that. And yeah, I will totally tune into Fast and Furious, the animated version, because I want to see how the family fares.
And you heard it here first, John. John Machesky, SAG-AFTRA actor, has officially claimed that no one should be acting in real life.
Rich.
It's okay. They got voiceover in Atlanta too.
Oh my God. Rich, what about yourself?
Personally, I think all three of us had good ideas for shows that actually should exist. I 100% would watch a show making fun of specifically Fast and Furious. And yeah, I think I'm definitely watching more of this show based on the pilot too. Let's use this platform to say we should pay animators more, because they are fully not part of the SAG-AFTRA contract, and they should be, and they work hard, and people deserve that money. If it's the same amount of airtime, it should be the same amount of money.
100%. For myself, I love this pilot. This was a very easy watch the next episode right after sort of
I wanted to watch
show.
the next episode so bad.
I know.
Yeah. This is just one of those where I was like, Hulu was like, you want to watch another one? And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. Like, I have nothing to do.
Put it in my veins.
Yeah, exactly. As far as having more animation, yeah, 100%. I think that animation is such... We were talking about the benefits of it, right? Like, you have the benefit of being able to do some of these wild things that we talk about, but might cost millions of dollars. I always go back to the Team America when that was made with puppets, and how you heard the creators sort of being like, yeah, like I wanted this wild shot that would be impossible to do with human beings.
Yep.
But like we did it as the opening shot because we were like, fuck yeah, like why not? So
America,
take advantage.
Also, that was a really rough show to watch with my mom in the theaters.
Oh my God.
especially the puppet sex scene.
Why did you watch that with your mother?
I didn't have much of a choice there. I was a child.
So she had the choice.
As far as a network, I was looking at this, like Netflix is sort of doing away with the animation that they once were like sort of a home for. There is the Cartoon Network, which still, it shows cartoons. So I think that it then becomes a issue of IP and who's willing to play ball and all that stuff.
Right.
And I hope that we have a network that sort of leans in. Max seems to be doing it with Harley Quinn for the most part. So maybe, hopefully, a little bit more animation.
And Max is just going full tilt with the Batman stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that is.
What if the Riddler was sad?
Okay, so then here's my pitch. Why don't we do an animated series of Batman? It'll be great.
Whoa!
and we'll just get some really good.
Never heard of that.
We've never done that before, right? We've never done that.
No. It's an original pitch. I got
not
this.
Not one, not two, not three, not 4 times. Not I think 5 times.
5 times a lady? That's wild.
Well, gentlemen, that was our flight. But before we go, John, thank you so much for being our guest co-pilot today. Do
you want to say any more about
Spirit Airlines? They let me drink and fly the plane.
Yeah,
Spirit,
John called shotgun when he walked on the plane. So
Spirit,
hey, that's right.
You can still sponsor the pod
America.
if you want us to stop making the jokes. John, is there anything that you would like to promote, or any place that folks can find you if they want to get a little bit more of you in their life?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram at jmachesk, JMACHESK. For some reason, I don't put a Y in any of my tags. I don't know why. But then you can also see me on Vigloo with Cowboy Dreams, where I play a cowboy with a lovely mustache and sometimes not wearing a shirt when I'm doing rope tricks. So I don't know how else to entice you to watch a rom-com besides that.
Yeah, go watch John Lasso stuff, which is
exactly.
I couldn't endorse that more.
Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and myself at Dadwagon Comedy. And for this week only, I'll be setting all of our passwords to guest.
And I can highly recommend that.
And you will find me cleansing our budget report because, yeah, I definitely didn't buy a Porsche on the budget. But you can also find me on social media at RunJeffRun. You can find the TV Pilot's License anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also see our smiling faces on YouTube and follow us on any social media platform at TV Pilot's License. If you have a question about the show or for the next episode, you can shoot us an email at tvpilotslicense@gmail.com. You can submit a question at tvpilotslicense.com or give us a call at 213-290-1713 to leave us a voicemail. Make sure to watch out for sneak previews of some of the stuff that we have coming up, including some wonderful guests just like John. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. And until then, Lana!